All right, good Thursday to you, Tennessee Valley. We got a lot of active weather coming our way here, so I wanted to hop on and give you a little bit of an update about what you can expect. So here's a look at our current overall view of what's going on across the southeast. Again, you got the low pressure coming in. That's our next weather maker, already bringing some pretty decent storms to parts of Oklahoma and Texas, some snow on the backside of this in the Rockies. Going to be a powerful system. It's going to drop across the southeast. We'll have a low pressure coming in and then potentially a secondary low developing Friday night to Saturday, which will give us multiple rounds of some heavy rain here across the Tennessee Valley. And tomorrow during the day, ingredients will be somewhat favorable, especially across places like, West Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, for some stronger storms. Now, we're going to get a lot of heavy rain Friday morning, and I think that will help to stabilize the atmosphere. So I'm not as concerned about the severe threat, but there's certainly going to be a flash flooding potential. So when does all of this start? Well, between about 6 and 8 on, I would say, Friday morning, places like Ringgold, Dalton, Cisco, Calhoun, Chattanooga, Spring City start to pick up on the rain, maybe a little bit earlier for Dunlap, Monteagle, between about 5 and 7. And of course, those are Eastern time, so 4 to 6 Central time. And then 8 to 9 for places like Murphy, Blue Ridge, back towards Polk County. So later in the day on Friday. So storm alert weather mode returns for the first time this year. This is going to be our first big weather maker of the new year. We could have gusts as high as 35 miles per hour, isolated severe storms, but the flash flooding threat is kind of on the top of my list. Now, a lot of you probably have PTSD from what we had back on August 12th of last year. It's not going to be like that. You got to keep in mind, we're looking at 2 to 4 inches of rain over a 24 to 30 hour period, whereas we had 6, 7 inches of rain, like 2 hours that day with some of those heavy summer thunderstorms. So not going to be like that, but we're certainly going to have the potential for some flash flooding concerns. So let's take a look at the latest in-house model. Again, you can see the heavy stuff. Well, actually, I'll have to zoom out a little bit. Most of the heavier stuff throughout the day throughout today and then into Friday morning, going to stay well to our west. And then by 6, 7 o'clock, we got some of those showers coming in, and it looks like the evolution might be a little bit later now with the latest guidance coming in, so maybe after 8 or 9, but nonetheless, we'll have some rain coming in, and by the afternoon, it's going to get somewhat heavy. We'll have a few breaks. Again, I don't think the daylight hours are necessarily going to be a total washout. After 8 p.m. on Friday until about 4 or 5 o'clock on Saturday morning, that's when it's going to be coming down in buckets. I mean, look at all those reds and yellows just pluming across southeast Tennessee and North Georgia. So if we're going to see any flash flooding concerns, it likely will be Friday night into early Saturday morning, and then this system gradually starts to exit. I do think we'll hang on to at least some scattered showers through the lunch hour on Saturday, but then by Saturday evening, we're going to be nice and quiet. Colder air starts to move in. So 2 to 4 inches of rain, I think, is generally going to be the average. There's going to be a few areas that get a little bit less and then a few that get a little bit more. But that axis of heavy rain, with the latest guidance, is shifting a little further to the south for places like Calhoun, Blue Ridge, in North Georgia and western North Carolina, whereas yesterday it looked like it was going to set up across Middle Tennessee. So again, that may waver a little bit, but nonetheless, it looks like the bullseye generally setting over parts of our coverage area. Now, there is some discrepancies between our global models. The European coming in with some lower amounts the last couple of runs, while the American or GFS model still spitting out 4 to 6 inches with that bullseye essentially setting up right over Chattanooga and parts of northwest Georgia. So we're going to get some rain, and it's going to be probably more rain than we had all of December. I mean, we're in a severe drought. So that's another thing to consider. The soil is really dry, so there is going to be a lot of runoff, especially with the heavier rain coming down. The soil not going to absorb quite as much. So flash flooding threat tomorrow from Calhoun to Dalton, parts of Blue Ridge, and pretty much our entire coverage area, going to be dealing with at least that threat. So low-lying areas, areas that flood a lot, you'll have to watch out for those, especially if you're going to be out and about late Friday into early Saturday. Now, a secondary threat here is going to be the severe potential. We got a level 1 out of 5 risk. Notice the higher risk going to be across parts of Mississippi and Alabama, slight risk. Now, For us, I think the heavy rain on Friday may be our saving grace. That will help to stabilize the atmosphere. Will it be able to recover by Friday afternoon and evening? Maybe. And as that low-level jet gets in, and that's essentially strong winds just above the surface, as that starts to center over the Tennessee Valley, we certainly could have some strong gusts coming through with some of those stronger storms, and maybe some of those stronger winds from that low-level jet get pulled down to the surface, and that's where we could potentially, have wind gusts upwards of 50 miles per hour. But as far as the tornado threat, I know we have a 2% chance according to the Storm Prediction Center, but that's really not something I'm overly concerned about. It looks like the primary warm sector is going to be further to our south, so the tornado threat really going to be higher from Louisiana, central Mississippi, parts of central Alabama. While I can't completely rule it out, I highly doubt it. There's not going to be a ton of storm fuel. There's going to be a little bit of directional wind shear, but as we take a look at that storm fuel again, it tries to surge in, but it kind of dampens a little bit Friday evening and stays closer to the Gulf Coast. So with that heavy rain coming through, again, I think that helps to stabilize the atmosphere, and I think that's going to really knock down any severe threat for us. So that's the good news. It's also going to be breezy. We'll have strong gradient winds beginning tomorrow, gusts occasionally, I think 30 miles per hour with higher gusts potentially in the higher elevations. Once that secondary low kicks up, late Friday into Saturday, it looks like Saturday morning, once again, we could get a surge of some pretty decent gusts, upwards of 35 miles per hour, and then it'll be breezy throughout the rest of the day. So that's kind of a breakdown of your system. Again, rain begins sometime tomorrow morning, likely closer to the mid-morning hours, continues on and off through the afternoon, and then between 8 p.m. and 4 a.m. on Saturday, I think that's when we get our heaviest stuff. And then looking ahead to your next 7 days, rain tapers off by about lunchtime Saturday for good, and then moving into Sunday, Monday, and then of course Tuesday and Wednesday we'll have a warming trend. But look how it gets a little bit colder. Again, we have been spoiled this month so far with very warm air, but by Sunday and Monday it's going to get a lot colder. And then towards the end of next week into the weekend, we're still going to be trending colder, and there are signs that there maybe could be some wintry weather somewhere in the vicinity of the Southeast, Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic. It does look like the back half of January will be more favorable for cold air and maybe even a few winter weather threats. Not guaranteeing anything, but it does look like the pattern is going to flip. So we're going to go from, the 70s today to the 40s Sunday, and then next weekend it looks like it could be even colder. So we are certainly transitioning to more of a winter pattern, but before we get there, we have to get through what's coming Friday and Saturday. So be weather aware, download our Local 3 Weather app, and of course we'll keep you updated on air, online, and through all of our social media platforms. So be sure to subscribe there and follow along with us. So I hope you have a good day, and we'll talk more about the weather coming up tomorrow morning from 4:30 to 7 on Local 3 News, and then of course here on YouTube, Facebook, and all of our other platforms. Have a great day.